Hello TalkBass, this is User Kaput Sport. I'm here with a video to catalog my rig as well as show off a few tones that are either an exact replication of or a duplication of some of Chris Wolstenholme's tones. I've been active on the board and I've done a lot of research on his rig. I've also purchased a lot of what he has in his arsenal, discovered ways to duplicate the tones, and had a little fun with it. I use some of these tones in my own recordings, which I will give a short example of at the end of the video, and give you some recorded examples of what these tones can be. But right now I'm going to go through the pedal board and the amplification and the rack gear that I have and show you the signal chain and how this all plays out. And once you understand the signal chain, you will understand how it is that he achieves the tones that he does. Okay, so we are back. This is a shot of my pedal board as it sits in our recording studio. It is not designed to be a touring board, as some of the pedals aren't held down properly, but this will give you an example of the chain and how to achieve some of the things that you are looking to do in terms of getting those tones. This is the Boss LS2 line selector. Now you can see right here that I have both gains set up equally, and then I'm using the A plus B or bypass setting. It's very important that I use that setting because it's integral to getting some of the sounds and tones that you need in order to perform some of these songs. We're going to start with the A chain, and I'll show you exactly how my board is laid out, and then we'll give you some examples of these tones. The first pedal I have is the OC2 octave. As it sits right now, it was set up for a recording that we did earlier this week. Under typical normal circumstances, your knobs should sit like so. The coveted Human Gear Animato. This one here is serial number 274, and I'm going to try and show you why this pedal is especially special to me. As you can see, that says Dominic Howard. Over here it says Chris Wolstenholme, and on this side it says Matthew Bellamy. Next up, one of the pedals he added for the Resistance Tour, and is a wonderful pedal that everybody on TalkBass is talking about. The HBE Hematoma bass overdrive / preamp. I have this set up for me and my uses. I don't have this set up as I can't really tell you when and where he uses this pedal, if at all. I just know he has one, and it's possible he used it on a couple songs, but I think it was in a chain to give a little bit of sizzle and fuzz, I think, on Undisclosed Desires for the slap part. That's unconfirmed at this point. Crowther Prunes and Custard. This one here, we are pretty much certain is the sound of Uprising when coupled with a OC2 or a Electro-Harmonix octave multiplexer. As it sits right now, I have it set up for Uprising. Chain B is designed for synthesizers and other effects of that nature, but also some distortions. The first pedal on that one is the Line 6 FM4 filter modeler. This is all speculation. He has had one on his board or in his rig since Origin of Symmetry, but because of the varying degree of tones and the fact that you can move the knobs without adjusting anything, it is all speculation as to what it's being used for. This is the coveted Deep Impact. I have mine set up in a few different manners. Right here we have preset 1. Preset 1 is standard preset 1, and this is for Time Is Running Out. Preset 2 is just a regular synth, 3 is a regular synth, 4 is a regular synth, 5 is a clean octave, 6 would be set up for a bubbly octave for Plug-in Baby, 7 is set up for Apocalypse Please, 8 is set up for Space Dementia, and 9 is set up for I Belong to You off of the Resistance. And that's the rundown of the Deep Impact. Next up is the standard, the Russian Big Muff pedal. This pedal that I have here is the Digitech bass synth wah. This one here is a bunch of speculation as well, as a lot of people think that this is Hysteria set up on Program 4. I think he bought this pedal because it was cheap, threw it on his board, and he uses it sparingly. One of the songs that he would use it on is Sunburn during the verse. There is no bass part, and live there are times when you can hear long filter sweeps that start low and end high. It is definitely not used on City of Delusion, but again, some speculation is listed there. and we'll try and cure that. Next up is something that Wolstenholme does not have, and this is for my own purposes, but I wanted to include it to show you that it does in fact work, and that we will we'll go through some tones there in a little bit, but it does in fact work for bass, and it is a wonderful tool to use. This is the Electric's MoFX. This one here, the chain runs from distortion to flange, back to trem, over to delay, and then output. You've got master settings for each one, MIDI time clocks, sampling, ping-ponging effects, the whole 9 yards. It's a pretty crazy rack mount effects unit to cover things like flanger, trem, and delay. I use it exclusively for the flanger in it, but delay is not necessarily out of the question. This one here is used. This is the Electric's Filter Factory. It's an analog high-order filter. It shows multiple different things. Here in the front, you've got a buzz setting, which I have engaged. It gives a little more gain. You have 4 sections: low pass, high pass, band pass, and notch. You have a frequency setup. This will tell you where your frequency is going at any time. It gives you the limit of the start or end point. You've got a momentary and a single shot switch that you're allowed to use. You have resonance. Resonance, as you turn it up, it will include feedback and feedback and feedback, and it gets pretty wicked and crazy. Here is your single shot and your waveform. You can see you have 6 waveforms. There's a random, an envelope filter, a sawtooth, a reverse sawtooth, a triangle wave, and a square wave. These waves are important because it dictates how the sound comes out. You have a tap tempo, which can be set up using the MIDI clock to sync. As you can see, this one's not blinking much at all because the speed is slow, and this one is blinking fast for the flanger. Down here is your depth. I have it all the way up, and you've got your speed and your division. Division is important because if you have it going too fast, you will go through the sweep too quickly. At the end, we have an effects mix, and that just gives you the level of the effects, which shows if you have MIDI plugged in, your input and output levels, and a bypass button, which is also important. You can't leave it on, you have to leave it bypassed. And last but not least is the actual bass rig. This is a Marshall 7200 dBs dynamic bass system. It's 200 watts RMS, 2000 watts peak power, has a full tube and solid state preamp. I have mine turned to valve at all times. I have a 1960s tube that's set into the preamp there, which gives it just a little bit more warmth, but the odd thing about it is it didn't really change my tone. Equalization is very basic. You've got a low and mid, you've got a bright and a deep switch, you've got a 7-band EQ here, which is almost pretty flat. There is a button to turn the graphic equalizer off, compressor, which you can see is on but just slightly, and your typical volume. There is a DI pre and post that you can set up so that you can use your EQ to record. Underneath that, we have a Marshall DBS 410 cabinet, and below that we have a Marshall DBS single 15 cabinet. This is the first one. This is my playable Padula Rapture single pickup RB4. It is a 4-string. It is in a cherry sunburst effect with a torque pickguard. I will give you a little tip if you have one of these. See this switch? That's your mid switch. It's flipped down. All knobs cranked. They can't go any further than they would be. This is volume, and this is going to be bass and treble with the mid switch. You want to make sure that you turn every knob fully up, and you will get that growly, nasty tone that he is known for. This here is a status. Here we have a headless status. Double J pickup configuration, gold hardware. This thing is one of the cleanest recording basses I've ever owned. It is incredibly hot, and it is incredibly cool to play. It weighs very little, it balances very well, and it is just a growl machine. So it is what it is. That concludes the overview of the rig. We will now go ahead and start working on some of these tones. I'll give you a few examples, and then we will go through and we will show you these examples throughout the songs.